Hello and welcome to another update video about Ether. Ethereum also has given us, like Bitcoin, the signal that a larger correction is unfolding, so we cannot assume anymore that we are still in wave 3. That's the first statement. As you know, I highlighted to you that we have either topped or we get one more high, but we needed a break below certain micro support levels to suggest that Circle Wave 3 indeed has topped. That's the third wave that started down here when Circle Wave 2 finished around the 23rd of January. The Fibonacci extensions, if we measure the length of the wave 1, we go to the low of the wave 2. What do I often say? The third wave should reach the ideal 1.38 extension at 4,092. Sometimes higher, okay, usually higher in crypto, but the 1.38 is the first ideal target. Okay, so that was 4092. We had that level on the chart as well as first minimum target, minimum expectation. Once the minimum, basically the minimum expectation is achieved or reached, you have to, obviously, I mean, the risk for a pullback increases, right? So I try to mentally prepare you for that in the last few days. It's not even a massive sell-off, okay? Again, we need to see. I mean, the situation is very dynamic. It's still a bullish market. Any pullback in general can be an opportunity in these markets. That doesn't mean you should buy aggressively every dip. That's not necessarily the case. That obviously depends a little bit on your portfolio and risk profile. I cannot tell you that. I can only tell you what is generally reasonable to do. And I think pullbacks in a bullish market are to be seen as opportunities. We've seen in recent weeks and months corrections that have been extremely shallow, even this one here, which was in January. Even that was where the wave 2 didn't even end here below all these swing lows. Extremely shallow corrections, yeah. You see that Ether has a tendency, or had a tendency in this bull market to form more and more shallow corrections. So I don't even know, are we going to enter the support zone in orange? We'll see. I think we should, because that's what probabilities suggest, but it's a bullish market that's been characterized by very, very shallow pullbacks, which is why I say shorting is not productive in this market. Rather, pullbacks, people shouldn't panic about them. A lot of people have been waiting for pullbacks. I have to say it every time now when we enter corrections. Support zones, they are offering support. They are not targets until we see enough price structure to really determine targets. They are support. They are support so that you can measure your risk. So for example, if someone buys up here, you just need to calculate your position size because according to the $2,970 level, because only below that level, if we get a sustained break below that level, that's when the structure starts to break, okay? It's not exact science, but the 50% fib level is a very reliable indicator in a third wave. So if that level breaks, it indicates that something different is going on here. Yeah, a wave 4 shouldn't really go below the 50% fib level. So it's very, very important. Yeah, so that's the idea, yeah, that we are now in this pullback in a wave 4. We could be close to completion of wave A. Might see a B wave corrective rally. Maybe it's starting now. We also have an ascending trend line here that should not be missed and ignored. And the overall support range is between 2,975 and 3,520. Normally, the ideal fourth wave target or support is at 3,200, the 38.2 retracement. It might be that because this is still a bullish market, we might not even get there. Okay. But we'll see. It's the most important question is, do the bulls turn up before we break below 2,975? I would assume that because that's my scenario. That's my wave count. I will work on a more bearish alternative. Actually, I have one. It's not really bearish, but I don't actually like this scenario so much yet because we haven't reached the target for blue wave 3. It's a diagonal pattern that's unfolding, but then blue wave 3 isn't really long enough yet. And it would allow for a deeper pullback in a deeper wave 4. So there is another scenario in which the price could come down a little lower. But I will only really discuss that in detail once I have more evidence for that. For now, we assume white, which would be characterized by shallow pullbacks, usually, and the price should turn around before breaking below 2,000 975. Looking at the shorter time frame, here you can see the structure in more detail. So obviously price did reach here the minimum targets. Has, again, ideally one more high would have been ideal, but looking at the overall structure, the highest probability element of this move up was done. Circle wave 3 likely topped. This here might be the A wave of circle wave 4. This here might be the B wave. Might have started now. Not enough price data for that. I need minimally a break above the last swing high. And yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a reversal candle, so it might have started now. 3,775 needs to be taken out. We're also very close to the 23.6 fib level. That's typically an ideal target for an A wave. Can't really give you targets for B waves. B waves don't have targets. I can give you a standard resistance area. The problem is people think they are targets. They're not. It's a standard resistance area. B waves often overshoot. And it's 3,823 to 3,975. Even if we go above that, it doesn't even suggest that it's more bullish. It could just be a high B wave. So I take that out again. But yeah, if we take out that last swing high, it might be that wave B is unfolding. And if the move up is corrective, and that's what we have to be watching for today, then we can look at a C wave down and calculate the targets for wave C. And that's really when we can get targets. At the moment, we see a downtrend, local downtrend. And, could wave 4 be over here? Yeah, for sure. That's what I mean. You don't have to wait for a support area to be reached. They are really only support areas. In most cases, they are being tested. And I would expect it will be, but essentially it's just support. It's not a target until I have that B wave. And if the B wave turns into something more bullish, then we're gone. So what we normally say is, because we've seen a strong downtrend, a break of initial support, we assume lower prices until a first 1-2 setup to the upside shows. That 1-2 setup, if it's clear, could provide the next setup to trade wave 3 and so on, this 1-2 setup. So that's what I'm going to watch for. Yeah, sometimes they're not clear on the smallest time frames. So especially in crypto, sometimes you get ugly diagonals and they're not very clear. So all I can say is, if someone, for example, waited for a buying opportunity, I mean, now we've dipped considerably, not massively, but yeah, it's a decent pullback. We have not reached the support area yet, yeah, but you don't have to wait, with buying until the support area is reached. I just say that because a lot of people think, okay, they have to be reached. I'm not going to buy until it hits 3,522. But what if it reaches 3,560, and goes, typically it can be reasonable. If you have your position size, you start buying a little, small position up here, and then, and that could even be up there. You could have bought up there, but with a tiny, tiny position, and the triangle represents the position size, small up there, and as we go lower, adding, not without a plan, not like, in a silly way buying every dip, more with a plan. You know what you want to risk, where you want to get stopped out, when the trade fails, and then you have most of your position close to the stop, but still though, yeah, you might never get a full position if it turns early. So that is why buying the dip carefully, yeah, and then more aggressively once we have the first 1-2 setup that confirms the upside trend continuation. It's still a bullish market, so still buying the dip doesn't have massive risk. What I mention is that don't buy leveraged every crazy dip, with high leverage and then, things like that. But yeah, that's the situation for ETH. I think the support zone hasn't changed, so I tried to prepare you for that in the last few days extensively, that a pullback is due, but we can only confirm it once it breaks below certain levels. That happened. And hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.